Sal Berry and Tim Parish. This is the Puck Junk Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Puck Junk Hockey Podcast. I'm Sal Berry and with me is Tim Parish, and today we are going to recap the All-Star Weekend. We are also going to talk about all the craziness going on with the Chicago Blackhawks. Maybe craziness is not the right word, or maybe it's not the appropriate word, or maybe it's an understatement. I'm not sure. All the stuff that seems to be going on with my hometown team, the Chicago Blackhawks, and we'll probably touch on a few other topics here and there. Don't how you doing, man?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I am well. Like I've said, I don't know if I'd said it 30 seconds ago, but like I've said many times, I like All-Star games. I like All-Star Weekend. I've always found the skills competition a lot of fun. I liked the skills competition this weekend. I like the All-Star game, or games, since it's 3 mini games. So I'm happy. I'm happy that I actually had the time. Well, I made the time to sit and watch these things. And then I'm also a little bothered by what's the latest with the Blackhawks. I know most of you, or all of you by now know about Blackhawks owner and chairman Rocky Wirtz going on his tirade against the media last week during the Blackhawk town hall meeting. But then there was also a story on ESPN Sunday night about a head athletic trainer with the Blackhawks AHL affiliate, the Rockford Ice Hogs, and this trainer was accused of sexual harassment and he was fired. Of course, the time between he did the harassment and the time of his firing, 7 years apart between what happened and when he got fired. He was fired rather quickly once it was reported and once it was investigated, but we could talk about that a little later. I kind of want to talk about the fun stuff first, like the All-Star Weekend. So what did you think?
You don't want to just bring the room down right away and then lift it back up?
No, that's okay, because we'll talk about other stuff too. We won't end with the Blackhawks.
Very good. What did I think? I always enjoy the All-Star game. Look, most sports All-Star games people can't stand, and I would say probably upwards of 70% or higher could care less about them. Maybe even some of the players do too. Ovechkin. But, when you have who are voted the best and who are representing as the best examples of their teams playing against each other or with each other on the same teams and showcasing that kind of thing and just, celebrating the game of hockey all in one weekend. It's really cool. Between the All-Star skills events on Friday and the game on Saturday, I was highly entertained. Let's put it that way.
I like the fastest skater competition. That one's pretty easy to judge. I mean, they're racing against the clock, but it's always fun. I still remember Paul Coffey and how fast he was when I went to the skills competition in '91 when it was in Chicago at Chicago Stadium. And then I remember them talking to him after that, like right on the ice. And, I like that. I like the accuracy shooting. I mean, some of them you have to like accuracy shooting. They either hit the target or they don't. Fastest skater, they're either faster than the other guy or they're not, right? Or guy or woman sometimes because they have like, who was that a couple of years ago?
Kendall Coyne Schofield, yeah.
Schofield,
they competed and basically almost wiped out all the guys.
Yeah, they've started bringing in some of the women Olympians into the mix in the All-Star skills competition, and I really like that. I liked the new events. I liked the 21 and 22. I thought that was a lot of fun. I thought
that was my favorite one out of all of them.
You'd see a player try to hit an ace, and they'd hit a 3, and then now it's like, okay, now they got to hit a 7, and now they got to hit a, you know what I mean? It's like now they had to strategically think about what cards they wanted to hit if they missed the one that they were intending to hit in the first place. So I thought that was a fun competition. You said that was your favorite?
That was, of all the competitions, that was probably my favorite because it was different. It wasn't the normal, thing. And sure, the breakaway contest is always different because you never know what anybody's going to do. And that's entertaining too. But as far as like an actual skill type thing that isn't, somebody going out there and performing, the fact that you already know that Joe Pavelski's a really good player. he's got a very good shot. But just seeing him call out a card and be like, yep, I'm going for this one, and just boop, knock it down. That was sick. And I mean, everybody already knows this. It's not a big secret. Those two new events were filmed the night before.
Right.
And there was, I don't know if you heard, but there was a whole part cut out of the 21 and 22. There was a whole nother round between Pavelski and Stamkos where they both hit kings. And it continued again. So that last round when they had to go for the queens, because it was interesting when they showed the board to go to that next round, I'm like, he's got to shoot for that king that's up in the top, because that was the one I saw. But then when they showed the board the next time when he was ready to shoot, the kings were gone. So I thought that was weird, but then I wasn't sure that I actually saw them correctly. And then I found out later that they cut that part out. So I don't know why they cut it out, if it was for time or whatever, but that's fine. Whether it was recorded or not, I don't care. I thought that was really cool. The thing, though, is that's a novelty act, because you're not going to take this to South Florida and do the same thing. You're not going to do 21 and 23. That doesn't make sense. So they're going to have to come up with something different. So unless they bring this back to Vegas at some point along the line, they're not going to have that card shooting thing. Maybe they'll come up with some other kind of target practice. Or maybe they'll come up with like alligator wrestling or something that's Florida related.
I can understand why they would pre-record those segments, because there was a higher likelihood that something could go wrong because it was outside, it was untested, et cetera, et cetera.
They're also doing the competitions on the inside, right? So the guys are all suited up. They're wearing their gear and everything else. When they were outside, they were all in like jeans and their sweaters. You could tell, you're like, wait a minute, weren't they just in there and like wearing their full gear? You know, I don't play hockey currently, but I know how long it takes to put on gear. It's not something you could just throw on and throw off.
Tim's that audience member in the movies who goes, wait a minute, he came in through that door, but now they're showing us this, and wasn't the lamp on that side of the table earlier? And you know.
I'm not gonna lie, I notice that stuff all the time.
Why is Han Solo wearing his vest in this shot, but not in this shot, but then wearing it again in this shot?
I notice that stuff a lot.
Sometimes I do. I tend to because I went to film school, and I learned how to edit. I love editing. You know, I'll sit in a movie and I'll be like, how did they light the room? That's really good lighting. Or how the heck did they do that? You know, now it's all computers. You know, 25 years ago, you'd have to look and say, how the heck did they light this room? And now you just go, oh, it's a CGI room. It's a guy standing on a green screen, and then you got a bunch of computer jockeys digitally rendering a room. But yeah, I hear you. It is fun to find those little flaws.
What you just said reminds me of that one bit from Family Guy where Neil Goldman is showing that part of Star Trek, and he's showing that it's like Captain Kirk fighting like this barehanded fight with some alien dude.
Like a lizard guy?
Yeah.
The Gorn. Yes.
Yeah, and he's cutting between, he's like, look, you can see where it cuts between William Shatner and William Shatner's stunt double, Fred Lubens. And it's like, he's like, see, Shatner. And then it's next thing, Lubens, Shatner, Lubens, Shatner, Lubens. And yeah, that's what that reminds me of. Because I do find that stuff. I do see that stuff, and it's not all the time, but sometimes it's blatantly obvious.
Well, you know, a couple of years ago, I interviewed one of the stunt doubles for Rob Lowe in Youngblood, Randy Walker. And Randy was like 16 at the time. And he talks about how, like, we're talking about like the penalty shot scene, and he'll be like, well, it's a close up of my feet, but then it cuts to the other stunt double, then it cuts to a close up of Rob Lowe, then it cuts back to me, but you see me from the side, so you can't tell that it's not Rob Lowe. And he actually broke down a scene where he talks about how it was partly him, partly another guy, and partly Rob Lowe, and how they just edited it all together. And that was really fascinating to hear about.
Yeah. You don't realize how much that actually goes on until you hear about it or read about it.
So what did you think about the face-off fountain?
That was kind of cool. I liked how they had that set up. It's sort of like accuracy shooting. You know, you got to be able to, A, go fast, and B, be able to put the puck exactly where you needed it to be. I thought the background setting, the backdrop to that whole thing was pretty cool, just being in the fountains. And I don't know if you could hear, but the fountains were still on.
Yes.
They didn't shut them off. And every time the fountains go off, if you've never been to Vegas to see the fountains, it's a spectacular sight to behold. But when they all fire at once, it sounds like cannons going off.
Oh, wow.
Because it's the launchers that shoot the water up into the air. I mean, that's really what they are. There's a lot of pressure and that water exploding up out of there. And so you could see the guys shooting, and meanwhile they're going off, and you can hear the explosion. It sounds like explosions in the background, and that's actually the water going off. So it was kind of cool to see that. Not only that, the event featured Jocelyn Lamoureux Davidson too, 3-time Olympian. Honestly, she had one of the better shots.
Yeah.
Of most of the players.
She was in first for a little while, and then I think Roman Josi eclipsed her, and then was it Zach Werenski eclipsed him and won.
Yeah, I think she finished third in round one. Yeah, and then Werenski and Josi had the face-off at the end, but Werenski came out as the winner.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he did it half the time. Josi kept missing that one.
Yeah.
He couldn't hit that one. He kept falling. He kept shooting right over top. And it was the same shot. He was consistently like equal distance over the shot every time. And then the next one he tried, it went short. So he wasted a lot of time trying to pop that last small space. Now this is an event that I could see them doing again, obviously not in the Bellagio fountains. And I don't think there's anywhere else in America, even the world, that has a set of fountains like this, but especially in South Florida. But I'm sure they could find some other type of venue or something to do an event similar to this, where you have to pot the goals and the different targets. This is similar to those obstacle courses that they've had over the years. Shoot the puck in the little net, shoot the puck in the big net, jump over this, do this. The only difference is you're stationary and you're just trying to hit the targets.
I liked this event probably the best for a number of reasons. The fountains were awesome, and they made a very picturesque backdrop. The sun was setting, so it was getting darker and darker, and the pucks lit up red, so you're able to see them on TV, which I thought was really cool.
Why didn't they light those up ahead of time? Like, did you notice to light them up, they had to hit them to turn them on?
Oh, well, if it's anything like the old Fox Tracks puck from 25-ish years ago, you have to slap it on the ground to activate the battery on the inside to make it work. So the Fox Track puck, it didn't glow in real life, but it glowed on TV. It would have to be smacked onto the ice in order for the battery to activate. So I'm thinking that's the same thing here.
So the sensor would pick it up?
They're not going to put a battery switch on it. I mean, I don't know if these were standard pucks. I imagine they had to be regulation weight. So they probably had to make sure they weighed the same, and they probably had two halves that were glued together with the battery in the middle and then the little lights around the edges, and then you throw it hard, and then that makes it turn on. So that's what I'm assuming the reason is.
The lights in them, though, because they would have to, they drop the puck down, they'd smack it so it turns on, and then they would shoot it.
Mm-hmm.
For something that's like a timed event, I don't know, I felt like there should have been something gopher off the side that you couldn't see off camera, like turning them on and then dropping them so they.
Yeah, I agree.
Shoot. I mean, that's a nitpicky thing, but.
Oh, and I just want to call back to something earlier when I mentioned Randy Walker, who is one of the stunt doubles for Rob Lowe in Youngblood. The other stunt double was Scott McPherson. So Scott McPherson and Randy Walker were the doubles for Rob Lowe in Youngblood. So anyway, and yeah, like I said, when there's that epic penalty shot scene at the end, that's actually cutting between all three of them, depending on what it was. So what was the other thing? I know that the Breakaway Challenge drew a little bit of ire from people on Twitter, which is where people go when they have ire. They go, I must tweet about this. It makes me unhappy. I must waste my life crafting the perfect tweet about how miserable it makes me to see Alex DeBrincat dressed up like the guy from The Hangover.
First of all, if you're angry about an all-star skills competition, you've got problems.
Yes.
That's the first thing. I mean, yeah, we all have our gripes about things. And again, if you're complaining about this, you're probably one that doesn't like all-star games anyway.
Probably.
But I will say this was highly entertaining, and it was fun and funny to watch all the guys put on their little performances that they did. DeBrincat's was pretty good, bringing out the guys from the Raiders, dressed like the other members from The Hangover. He had the beard and the hair, and he was carrying the baby in the, what do they call those? Baby Bjorn, the carrier.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he had that Mike Tyson lookalike guy with the tiger.
Mm-hmm.
That one was good. The Jack Hughes one went a little too long, and I don't think they should have let them shoot, and they're like, oh, that was lame, you should try it again. No, you get one shot. If that's going to be your thing, come out and do it. Okay, that's all I have to say about that. That was entertaining. He had the box, did the magic trick, created a little mini version of himself that went in and scored. And then the stick toss into the crowd was kind of funny too. But
there's good coordination there, yeah.
But I'll tell you what, the Trevor Zegras thing, that was outstanding. I mean, that was flat out outstanding. I don't know that I've ever seen anybody blindfolded and do that with the puck up on the stick with that centrifugal force with it on the stick and spinning it around and then flinging it in. And it went in the net too, which shocked me.
He wasn't really blindfolded.
That's what my kids think.
No, I
conspiracy theory that think he could see exactly what he was doing. I'm like, I don't know about that. I like to keep up the ruse that it was genuine, because the one that came after him with Alex Pietrangelo and John Hamm cheating with his score of 19.
Yeah. Which,
again, obviously that's the whole thing's a setup. You would think, though, with it being Vegas and all that, you have the night line. Is that what they're called? Yeah, it's the night line. The drummers. The drummers, yeah. Mm-hmm. So they march the drummers out there, and they're all glowing and lit up like they always are. And, they tried to light up Alex's uniform, too, but you couldn't really see it, and they didn't focus on it because the camera was at his back when he went up to score.
Right.
And they should have brought him out in I don't know, like a suit of armor that was all glowing, or some kind of looking like somebody from Tron or something.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been cooler. Not only that, he missed the net. He shot it right over Manon Rhéaume's head. So it went flying over the goal.
Let's talk about that. Manon Rhéaume and what's his name? Kurt Russell's kid, Wyatt Russell.
Oh, Wyatt Russell? Yeah.
Yeah. So this is why I write things down, Tim, because when I ask you for stuff, you're like, before the show, folks, Tim was making fun of journalistic integrity, because I'm like making my notes for the podcast, and you're like, yeah, whatever, I just wing it.
You said you were writing facts. I said facts are for suckers. I prefer fake news.
Anyway, so Wyatt Russell and Manon Rhéaume, I'm wondering if they knew what they signed up for, because it was like, hey, Manon, we want you to come out and play goalie, and just basically made to look foolish for 10 minutes. And I thought it was a waste of both of them, because she's hockey royalty.
Oh, absolutely.
She didn't actually get to do any skills competition. She just happened to be the goalie that was in net. It would have been funnier if it was Darren Pang and Daryl Ray as the goalies. See, that would have been great, because they know that they would be supposed to let in the goals, but then be like, Panger, what do you think about that? And Panger would say, I think that kid was bigger than me. I think little mini Jack Hughes might have been a little taller, right? And it would have been hilarious. And
in that case, it would have also been true.
And Daryl Ray, he would have said some funny stuff. And I think that would have been more entertaining than, here's Manon Rhéaume, and yeah, she's great, and she's a trailblazer, and now she's going to let in goals. And here is Wyatt Russell, and you might know him from Goon 2. You might know him from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. They didn't even mention any of that stuff. They just said Wyatt Russell, right? Did I miss something? They didn't even play up the fact that he was like an actor and all this popular stuff.
They mentioned him being an actor and stuff, but they didn't say that he was fake Captain America or anything like that.
Not fake Captain America. Captain America 2.
He's fake Captain America.
Well, actually, and if you go to the old Marvel continuity, he might actually be Captain America 3, because allegedly there was a Captain America between Steve Rogers and John Walker in the old Marvel book, but not going to go there because...
That's a different show.
That's a different show. That's a different podcast that we haven't started yet.
Yes. The most shocking thing to me of the skills event,
yeah,
while we're still talking about it, is the fact that the Speed King was unseated. Not only was he unseated, but he got beat by 3 people.
Yeah. Yeah, McDavid didn't win. He won 3 times in a row, and
even Kreider beat him, which I was kind of shocked at. I know Kreider's fast, but
yeah, but look at the times are so close. Like, we're talking, like, I think there was like maybe a second that separated the first from the last, give or take. I mean, everybody's score was either 13 point something, 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 or 14 point something, something, something. So
yeah, it was like 13.55 was Kyrou with the winning score, and 14.55 was Kuznetsov, who had the slowest. And man, did you see him when after he finished? He was like all happy. He was all happy. He came over to the bench with his arms raised like he had just scored a goal, and he was only happy because he didn't wreck.
Well, heck, if I was 2 seconds slower than Kuznetsov, I'd be happy.
Yeah, no kidding. 16 seconds. That'd be great.
God.
But yeah, Connor McDavid he was like 13.69, and he got beat by Kreider, Adrian Kempe, and Jordan Kyrou, the eventual winner. I was kind of shocked at that.
Well, I mean, it happens, and they only get one chance at it too.
Right.
I'd like it if they got to go 2 times. Not one and then the other one, but one time, and then everybody does their thing. Have all 8 people go, and then again, one time, and have all 8 people go. But I understand, you're pressed for time, and this isn't exactly the Olympic trials for qualifying for the Olympic team. This is a kind of a one and done skills competition. It's supposed to be a spectacle. It's supposed to be fun to watch, and it was.
I think the only event I probably could have done without, or at least should probably be revamped, was that save streak one.
I like that one because it actually, for the goalies, it's like by the goalies, for the goalies. It's about the goalies, not like, well, the goalie stopped the player from scoring, so the player loses.
And I don't disagree with you on that. That is the goalie feature event. They shouldn't get rid of that. What I'm saying is they need to revamp it, because the way they had it set up, I don't think does it justice. Instead of having the individual goalies face basically like the shootout style with players coming at them, and you could stop it, maybe let one in, start your streak over again. They teamed them up. So you had guys at both ends based off of the conference, and they had it set up where you could do the streak, and if you missed one, as long as you stopped the team captain, who would be the last one to go out of the group, you could keep going. But as soon as you missed one after that, it was over.
Okay.
And that's how Vasilevsky and Campbell were able to get 9 saves. The few that they missed were in the first round, and then they stopped the last shot and then got 9 in a row. So I think I would rather see them just have this individually set up, maybe come up with different rules on it somehow. I don't know.
You know what would make a really cool skill competition for the goalies?
What's that?
Empty net goals.
To score them themselves?
Yeah. So, they have an empty net across from them, have somebody dumping the puck, and they go, behind the net to stop the puck, and then they fire it, and, give them like a 5-second shot clock or something, because you're never going to have all the time in the world to aim your shot. Maybe even have somebody dump the puck and then have somebody from the red line skate in, or some way to put pressure on them, because no one's going to ever have the chance to like stop and shoot the puck. You're not going to have that much time. It's a hurried shot. I think that would be a fun thing to do.
Remember a few years ago, they had the goalies shooting over the obstacles.
Yes.
And trying to get it down the ice into the net. I say give it another level. Make it like, remember the Ryan Miller save where he was going to the bench to come off to pull the goalie, and they cut down the ice, and he like skated as fast as he could from the bench and just dove across the ice to block the shot.
Yeah.
You could do something like that. You have to start on the bench, and you have to try to block a shot that somebody's shooting at the empty net. You can do that. See how athletic guys really are.
So the All-Star game itself, or games, because there's 3 mini games. So just to throw out the scores really quick. Game 1, Metropolitan Division beat the Pacific Division 6-4. Game 2, the Central Division beat the Atlantic Division 8-5. And in the final game, the Metropolitan Division beat the Central Division 5-3.
All pretty close games, actually, for an All-Star game.
I was going to say that. For a 3-on-3 game and an All-Star game, very close scores. You had teams playing defense, especially in that last game. The Metro, kind of dug in and really played defense. I like this format. I've always liked this format, but this kind of reinforces my thought from a couple shows ago where I said, let's expand the rosters from 9 skaters to 12 skaters. Because even the commentators said, the players are getting tired. You could tell that they're getting tired. Even though the Central Division poured it on at the end in that second game. And Tristan Jarry played out of his freaking mind.
As he has been most of the year. So
I mean, that was...
He made some pretty
Saros
crazy
was
stops.
awesome, too. They both played outstanding in that second half of that last game.
Yeah. Yeah, Jarry played really well. And, yeah, Saros was pretty good. I mean, both of those guys definitely had their goaltending chops on display.
I think it might be time to up the roster by another 3 skaters. I don't think that would hurt the quality of the game. If anything, everybody gets a little more rest, and therefore they can push a little harder towards the end, and you get a few more representatives in there, and I think that would really be okay. I don't think anybody'd say, like, the All-Star teams are too big now. I mean, now you'd be looking at 14, 28, so he had 56 players now instead of 44. I think that's okay. I mean, considering how the league has grown so much in the past, 20-ish years.
Yeah, and I think we talked about that before about having the smaller teams or doing expanded rosters. Honestly, I would still like to see them go back to East versus West or something of that nature. Just so there's really 2 teams instead of 4 teams.
Mm-hmm.
That way you could feasibly expand the roster and maybe get to a point where it's not just, okay, every team has to have a guy. So these 3 teams that we're looking at dissolving at the end of the season and relegating down to the AHL still have to have players there. Although I thought Clayton Keller played pretty good. But
I just thought of something the other day. If you don't have all the teams represented, then you don't have all the media covering it. So even just having 1 Red Wing or 1 Blackhawk or 1 Ranger or whatever, you're getting the media from that city to cover the game. I mean, if the Blackhawks didn't have a representative at that game, and DeBrincat's been great for the team. I think he's 4th in scoring goals this year for the league. But, would the Chicago media really want to cover the game? I don't know. It doesn't become a priority now because there's no interest. There's no one player that they could point to and say, hey, here's our guy. So if I'm having an All-Star game, I want all 32 teams. I want all 32 markets represented by the media. You know what I mean? 31 markets because New York has 2 teams.
I think the original 6 markets and most of the big markets are still going to get coverage regardless of whether they had a representative there or not. But to your point, I get what you're saying. But I don't know. I still think if I want to see an all-star game and it's not of all time, it's of that year and that season thus far, the first half of the season, there were guys at that game that I wouldn't necessarily consider all-stars compared to some of the guys that got left out. But again,
Right.
that's just a gripe, and it's an all-star game, and we can argue left and right about it all we want. And again, it boils down to, in the grand scheme of things, it's a meaningless game, but it's a celebration of hockey and it's fun. So sure, if we want to get everybody involved and get everybody to have fun and have all the teams representative, that's really the only reason why to do it. It's the promotion. That's really what it is. It's about the promotion. It's about sponsorships. It's about pushing the product of all of the sponsors that are advertising and everything else, and getting the interest from the fans, because it boils down to, it's a celebration of the game for the fans to give people what they want to see. So from that standpoint, I can see that.
Now, one thing I did not like, probably the one thing that was a buzzkill to me for the whole thing, was that they didn't show the announcement of the MVP on
Oh yeah, what was that all
ABC.
about? That was
I don't know.
ridiculous.
So I guess there was an on-screen graphic that said switch over to ESPN Plus, but I was looking away from the screen. I might have been up to get something to drink or whatever, and I was listening to it. Then I heard it cut to the news, and I thought, okay, they're just doing a quick news break, while they're in commercial, and then they're coming back. And then it's like, wait a minute, I don't think they're coming back. Oh no. So then I switched over to ESPN. And
Yeah,
it was college.
That's exactly what I did.
Okay, so first I went to ESPN, it was college hoops. Then I thought, okay, well, NHL Network will totally be covering this because it's the post game. Nope, I cut over to the NHL Network and they're showing their long, 1 minute long introduction for NHL Tonight. And I'm just like, seriously? And then finally when that was done, they're like, oh, we're live at the All-Star game and it's the post game. And I'm like, wait, no, but who's the MVP? And then I'm like, I got so frustrated, I just kind of left it there. And then I just went on Twitter, and then everybody's like, WTF, man. Oh, it's Claude Giroux. That's great. Would have been fun if we got to see him get the award. It was a buzzkill. It was like, okay, I get it. They went over their time slot. So what?
You didn't see them award him his car, and he jumped in the car and drag raced the Zamboni down center ice?
Oh, that would have been awesome.
You missed that? Oh, man, you should have saw it. You must not have been fast enough to get your internet to boot up for.
I thought that Claude Giroux jump in the car and he would like gun it to the goal line, and then when he gets to like the circles, he'd like cut the wheel and do like one of those Tokyo drifts where he like spins around and then he goes in the other direction and then starts like, I don't know, chasing around Tom Wilson because why not?
I thought that was funny how much he got booed. He was mic'd.
Tom Wilson.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, NHL All-Star and opening goal scorer Tom Wilson.
Yeah, and
was mic'd.
He was mic'd throughout the game, and every time they announced him, whether it was at the skills or even at the and at the skills there was only half the crowd there, and even there the boos rained down every time they made an announcement and called his name, which I thought was funny because everybody loves a villain, but listening to the playback of like all the banter that he had with like the other players, and the way he was talking to like the players had their kids down there on the ice and stuff, and just interacting with people. I'm not going to say I like the guy, but he's seemed like he's kind of a nice guy.
He's a talent, that's for sure.
He seemed kind of like an all right guy, but I don't know if that was just for show or not. But yeah, that was annoying too. I didn't catch that either, that it was switching over. I thought I heard them say, up next, the presentation of the MVP, and then it goes to commercial. Yeah, and it goes to commercial, and then the news comes on. I was like, oh, it must be on the other channel. Went to ESPN. I'm like, what is this?
Right.
And then I did the exact same thing. Went to the NHL Network, and there was Jameson Coyle and Mike Rupp sitting there. And I'm like, okay. Like, are they going down to the ice? What's happening? And then that was it. They just talked about the game and did the recap and everything else. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, way to bury the lead, guys. The other thing is that it takes ESPN Plus so freaking long. They should call it ESPN minus because it takes so freaking long to load.
It loads on my computer pretty much right away. It loads on my phone right away. But on my television devices, like I have Samsung smart TVs, on there, it seems like it takes freaking forever.
Yes. Actually, you know what? I have yet to try ESPN Plus on my new smart TV that I got for Christmas. I was watching ESPN Plus through my Comcast cable box up until the end of the year. And then when I got the new television, I pretty much got everything, Netflix, HBO Max,
Right.
Disney Plus. I got that all set up because, I'm watching shows regularly on those things. ESPN Plus is only when I'm like, oh, shit, this game is only on ESPN Plus. Okay, now I gotta, turn this on and then wait, 5 minutes. Like I said, it loads as slow as a GeoCities webpage from 1998.
That's the
Waiting.
thing. You still have the luxury of being able to watch your team on Comcast Sportsnet
Yes.
or NBC Chicago or whatever they call it now.
Right, whatever they're
But
calling it now.
all the games that I have to watch are pretty much on ESPN Plus. That's why I think
All the Penguin
ESPN
games?
Plus, ESPN Plus to me was a godsend because, paying for center ice package, especially with hindsight, knowing that half the games and everything else are going to be canceled for the year and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that would definitely not be worthwhile to pay the extra money for that when ESPN Plus, as part of the Disney package, it's a heck of a good deal to be able to get that many games. And I can't think of a single Penguin game that wasn't a national broadcast that hasn't been on ESPN Plus.
Right.
So, plus you get both feeds. So
yeah, I mean, I'm still sore about the whole Kraken thing, the Kraken home opener not being on anything except ESPN Plus. But, then again, that seems to be kind of like in alignment with the NHL's whole goal of like just doing a piss poor job of promoting itself. Like it did a pretty good job at this All-Star game, but like I said, not having the MVP announcement on ABC, it's like cutting out the last 2 minutes of a movie for commercials. And then be like, oh, well, you figured it out. The good guys won, the end, right?
Or it's like, you already know what's going to happen, so we're going to switch over to Heidi.
The Heidi Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh, I know about that's before my time, but I remember my uncle telling me about that and seeming a little, not angry about it, but I think he was more amused by it than anything. Like,
You would think broadcasts would have learned from that event alone to never look away because you don't know what's going to happen.
Right, yeah, never look away because you never know what's going to happen. Right, exactly. So, overall, All-Star game was a winner. Yeah, ended
Agreed.
Not so great, but it was, overall, I think it was good. It was good for hockey.
I agree, 100%.
I want to plug something real quick, if you don't mind.
Plug something like your computer?
Oh, yeah, no. I got a new T-shirt design on shop.puckjunk.com that I'm selling on pre-order. Yes, a new T-shirt of little fat hockey video game guy taking a slap shot.
Fat
guy, video game hockey shirt. So I have sizes medium through 4X, and if you buy between now and Friday, you get $5 off. No coupon code needed. It's a pre-order, so it ships middle of March, but place an order, support the site, support my dream of being a T-shirt entrepreneur. Anyway, so should get the Blackhawks out of the way. I feel like we need to talk about this a little bit because I'm in Chicago and I've been following the team for 30 years. And when I saw Rocky Wirtz have his outburst against members of the media last week, Wednesday, during their town hall meeting, I was thinking like, oh my God, he's like his old man. He's like old man Wirtz. He's like Bill Wirtz. Wirtz didn't really interact with the press that much, but it was a very acrimonious relationship between the press and the Blackhawks from like the 1970s, right around the time Bobby Hall went to Winnipeg, so 72, we'll say, up until when Bill Wirtz died in 2007 and then Rocky took over the team. So what happened was Mark Lazarus of The Athletic asked the Blackhawks the Blackhawk brass. So you had Rocky Wirtz, you had Jamie Faulkner, who's like the president of business operations. You had Danny Wirtz, who's the CEO. And then you had Eddie Olczyk moderating. Olczyk would read some pre-screened questions to the other three, and they would answer. And then they were going to take questions from the media. And so Lazarus of The Athletic, he asked about what the Blackhawks were doing to protect players, thinking like what happened to Kyle Beach in 2010 and, what they're going to do going forward. Danny Wirtz goes to answer that. Rocky Wirtz butts in and says, no, I'm going to answer that. And then he basically says it's none of your business. I'm actually going to just play the clip here so that you can hear what he says, because I don't want to paraphrase him, and we'll talk about it.
I think the report speaks for itself. The people that were involved are no longer here. We're not looking back at 2010. We're looking forward. And we're not going to talk about 2010. I know, and I'm not either. And we're not going to talk about what happened. We're moving forward. That is my answer. Now, what's your next question?
I can pick up to what we are doing today. And I think
No, I don't know. That's none of your business. That's none of your business. What we're going to do today is our business. I don't think it's any of your business.
How is it not my business?
Because I don't think it's any of your business. You don't work for the company. If someone in the company asks that question, we'll answer it. And I think you should get on to the next subject. We're not going to talk about Kyle Beach. We're not going to talk about anything that happened. Now, we're moving on. What more do I have to say? You want to keep asking the same question? You hear the same answer? Okay, ask the next question.
You said enough right there.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so that was quite a bit. And then, and then with another journalist, Phil Thompson. So Thompson first asked him the same question, which I freaking love. When I was in journalism school, I asked about that. I said, like, if they don't answer the other guy's question, but you really want to know the answer to that question for your story, can you ask that? And my journalism teacher for this particular class, he's like, oh yeah, we call that the I am Spartacus, where basically everybody's like, I'm Spartacus, I am Spartacus, I am Spartacus, right? So like from like the movie. So the idea is that like everybody asks the same question. It either wears them down or it makes them, in this case, it made Rocky Wirtz double down and get angrier and more agitated, to the fact where he started like throwing it back at Thompson, and he started making fun of the newspaper that he worked for, the Chicago Tribune. And I'm just thinking, okay, now you're insulting the guy, you're insulting the paper that he works for. You know, now I'm just waiting Rocky to say fake news, you're all fake news, and you're all terrible, you know, like a certain ex-president. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is the Blackhawks in 2022.
He's old man shouting in a cloud. He is that guy. The problem is he's old man that owns a hockey team shouting in a cloud.
But he didn't have to be at that press conference.
Exactly. And that was my point from the very beginning. Why is he here? Like, what are you doing here? From what I read and the background that I got, of course, never heard any of it direct from any of the other people involved.
Mm-hmm.
But it was all kind of like third party saying, we heard from a source saying this and this. It's all indications pointed to when they were preparing for this whole entire thing, he wasn't even involved with any of it.
Correct.
Like, it was like no one was going to even tell him it was going to go down. And it seemed like at the last minute he found out about it. And he's like, oh, hell no, they're not going to do this without me. And, you know, he injected himself into the whole thing. That hit really close to home to me from past employment experience from a job I had before. Because that's kind of exactly what happened. You know, here's a guy that owns a company, or in this case, a hockey team, which is a company.
Mm-hmm.
It's a revenue generating vehicle. And you have an obligation, I think, as an owner in today's world to, I'm trying to choose my words carefully here, to at least be aware of your surroundings, right? You can't jump into something maybe like you could in the past, like he was used to. You know, I'm the king, my rules, my way or the highway kind of thing, and I don't have to answer to any of you. Now, I'm also not the kind of person that enjoys watching people from the press and reporters and stuff like that ask stupid questions, because if you ask a stupid question, you're going to get a stupid answer. But they do that to try to trigger people, and it's just to try to do that kind of stuff a lot of times. Other times they're working on some other kind of story and they're pushing the conversation elsewhere because they're trying to get some information that either they already know and they want to confirm, or that they don't have, or that they're looking for something additional, right? You know, goes back to what we talked about before with the whole interview with Leon Draisaitl a couple weeks ago, where they were like, you know, why are you so pissy?
Right.
And it's like, you asked me a dumb question. I answered your dumb question. Move on. You know, I don't have a better answer than that. But in this case, you had all of these people as part of the Hawks organization that had probably, well, not probably, they did pre-screen all of these questions that were supposed to come from the fans.
Yes.
Picked out the ones that they wanted, put them on cue cards so that Eddie could read them, and probably rehearsed preconceived answers to where they could pretty much move forward. So obviously, if you're going to come up with the answers for those, you probably already know what's coming. You have all this controversy in the background. You have everything else. And Danny was the target of these questions, not Rocky Wirtz. And the fact that he just jumped right in, he's like, no. You're not answering. This is my team. I'm answering. And to turn it into this whole thing of, really, that's all it was. It was, I don't want to use the derogatory term, but it was a you-know-what swinging contest. Because it was basically him saying, I'm still in charge. This is my team, and it's going to run by my rules. And I'm not relinquishing control to anybody. And I almost felt like we don't know what happened before this whole thing went down, or maybe a day before or 2 days before. But I feel like that's how it went down. They planned all this. He wasn't involved, found out about it after the fact, got ticked, and jumped into it and basically took it out on everybody. So he was already mad, and he was already set off. And so you throw out a bunch of questions about stuff that he really doesn't want to talk about, and boom, you just basically lit the fuse on a keg of dynamite that was just waiting to explode. Now, and like you said, he doubled down on it with the subsequent questions.
Right.
And he just acted like an ass the entire time, which doesn't surprise me.
But he doesn't like Lazarus to begin with. Like, they have like a thing going back.
Oh, of course they have a thing. I mean, what member of the press doesn't he have a thing with?
I don't know, because the Blackhawks got a little better after old man Wirtz passed away.
I mean, you can point to the changes that they made going forward and how they were able to develop the team and eventually, bring Stanley Cups back and put more butts in seats when it came to selling tickets and everything else. And I'm sure Rocky takes credit for all of that.
Well, to illustrate your point, I do remember when Rocky Wirtz would announce something like in front of the fans, he'd always pause and wait for them to cheer. Like he would say, he'd say something and then he'd stop and he'd wait for people to cheer, and then they'd cheer and he'd get this big smile. So look, when you own a sports team, you could do whatever you want. Even if it's something like, I always hate the fact that when a football team wins the Super Bowl, they always give the trophy to the owner of the team, the guy who owns the team but didn't actually throw any touchdown passes, gets to hoist the trophy. That's
yeah, we're champions. Here, guy that signs my paycheck.
Right. No, he gets it first. Then he passes it to whomever, right? And in hockey, they say it's going to the team captain, right? And that's always, and eventually it goes to the coach and the owner and the assistant trainer and whatnot, and that's fine. That's great. You know what? Yeah, Wirtz would say something, Rocky Wirtz would say something, and then he'd stop and smile and wait for the fans to cheer. Oh yeah, we're back on TV. Yeah, he put the games back on TV and we're applauding. Yay! Granted, I would applaud that too, because I grew up in the Chicago blackout and we didn't have home games on TV. They were, they say they were blacked out. They were just not televised. Literally, sometimes the games were not televised. And I even remember when Winnipeg was visiting and the news was telling us the score of the game, and they said, and we don't have any footage to show you from the game because Winnipeg didn't send its camera crew for this game. So they had nothing. They didn't even have the road team's footage to show. So yeah,
as far as you know, the game never even happened.
Which is funny to think that games in the late 80s and early 90s, there are no visual records of. I mean, I know that's 30 years ago, but if you think about it, by then, pretty much everybody was televising. Satellite dishes were a thing. Subscription packages were a thing. Pay-per-view was really becoming a thing. So to think that there are games that have no TV from 1990, 1991 is kind of crazy.
I mean, there was a period where the Penguins weren't on TV either. That was quite a bit before I really started watching. That would have been in the early 80s.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could see that in the 70s and the 80s, but yeah, by the 90s, yeah, kind of crazy that would happen. So, did you notice that pained look on Eddie Olczyk's face?
Oh, he looked like he would have rather been anywhere than there.
Didn't he look like the kid who didn't do his book report, who's being called on in front of the class and is waiting, just hoping that the ground like swallows him up, that like he sinks into the ground and
honestly,
have to.
Like seriously, like yeah, I haven't heard anybody else respond to any of that was on that panel. I don't know if you have.
What are they supposed to say? Rocky Wirtz released a statement later, or the PR released a statement where he's saying that he crossed the line and
but they had to do that at that point. And I'm sure he got a call from the big man. I'm sure he did.
The big man, the bet man?
Yes. I'm sure Gary called him and said, you better say something because that was stupid.
Gary said, Rocky, I understand you had a moment.
Right.
As he called it in the NHL State of the Union, that
and I mean,
had a moment.
That's kind of what it was. It was a moment. He got ticked and went off, and he shouldn't have, and he said what he said, and that's what it is. I don't think he meant any deeper thing by it. I think he was just old man pissed off.
He could have said, he should have let Danny answer the question.
Exactly. He could have avoided all of this.
Me, off the top of my head, I would say we take this very seriously. We have a new structure in place, a new plan in place, a new policy in place, that's the word, to deal with this sort of thing, and we have a zero tolerance policy. Like that he could have just said that, right? And that would have been it. And
let Danny tell you about it.
Yes.
Or something of that nature.
Yes.
His ego's too big to allow that to happen.
And that's bad. And that's why I kind of want him now to just sign the checks, be the owner, come out when the team wins a Stanley Cup in about 6 years from now.
That's exactly it. If you're surrounding yourself with competent people that you know that can run your business and passing the torch on to other family members that you obviously must trust because you're putting them in those types of positions, let them run the team. Go retire. Go live on a beach somewhere and just collect your money.
Right.
Occasionally show up to some of the gala events and the charity things and shake hands and kiss babies. But other than that, keep your mouth shut.
Right.
Don't say anything. You are a liability at this point.
Yeah, he is. And this doesn't, and so that's the thing is that everybody was just talking about how tone deaf the Blackhawks are and just how I don't want to say typical, but this doesn't help them. This doesn't help them. And then
Absolutely not.
Shall we segue to the next thing?
I mean, might as well. We already opened Pandora's box. You can't close it.
Right. So on Sunday evening, ESPN reported that there was another sexual harassment scandal in the Blackhawks organization. So Rockford Ice Hogs head athletic trainer DJ Jones was fired in November of 2021. Now, that's a while ago. It's a couple months ago, but we're now hearing about this for the first time. So let me just set the timeline. According to the sources that reported to ESPN, Jones sexually harassed one of the women that was working for the Rockford Ice Hogs ice crew. Basically, they're whatever you want to call them, ice cheerleaders, whatever. They call them ice crew. You know, they wear tight clothes. They go around, they shovel the ice or whatever, and then they go to like charity events and stuff like that, kind of like the Blackhawks have an ice crew. So this happened in 2014.
They're like cheerleaders that have a job.
Yeah. Sorry,
that was probably offensive, but you know what I'm saying. They go out and scrape the ice and stuff in between commercial breaks.
Right, but then they also have a real job because the job doesn't pay a lot.
Right.
I know this because when I saw the Blackhawks were having a call for ice girls, I wasn't going to apply, obviously, but I wanted to see like, well, how much do they get paid? And I'm reading this and I'm just like, oh, that's really not a great wage for somebody who has to know how to ice skate pretty well and blah,
I'm
blah,
surprised
blah.
they get paid at all, actually. I figured it would be like a volunteer position.
Nah, if you're a team that's making millions of dollars, you should be ashamed of yourself if you want people to volunteer to work for you. That should be criminal.
The Blackhawks ashamed of themselves? Come on. I think we've established that.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, head athletic trainer DJ Jones, who worked with the team for 16 years up until November of 2021, allegedly sexually harassed a member of the team's ice crew in 2014. This was reported in October of 2021 after the Blackhawks put their new policy in place about how to deal with sexual harassment. He was investigated for 5 days. He was fired in early November. His info was scrubbed from the website, and he was removed from a database of athletic trainers. So I guess ESPN was trying to find more information about him and couldn't even find him in like the trainer database or whatever. Okay, couple thoughts on this. The Blackhawks did the right thing. They didn't tell anybody about it. So I guess it's like, I'm assuming the worst, because this was happening about a month after they settled the lawsuit with Kyle Beach, and about 2 months after that big 70-page report came out from the internal investigation. So in September, you had that internal investigation and the document for that, the report. In October, you had the settlement with Kyle Beach. In November, you have this guy in the minor league team getting fired. And, the Blackhawks could have said, hey, this was brought to our attention. Although, you know what? It's kind of tricky, though, because if you say, we think this person did a bad thing and we fired him, but then that person, unless they're found in a court of law to have done that bad thing, can they sue and say, well, the Blackhawks said I did a bad thing, but I didn't do this bad thing. I'm not trying to downplay sexual harassment as it's just a bad thing. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not trying to minimize it. I'm just saying whatever misconduct it is, right?
Well, there's always the chance of the lawsuit for unlawful termination and
right,
various things like that. I don't know what the hiring practices or the job, whatever they're called in Illinois are.
At will.
Okay, because I know Indiana's like a right to work state, so
no,
you can
at will here.
You can get fired for anything in Indiana.
You can?
Oh yeah. They don't have to give you a reason. You're just fired.
Oh yeah. Well, so how's that right to work? That doesn't sound like.
They'll make something up later.
Okay. Well, anyway, so I guess what I'm trying to ascertain is, did the Blackhawks not want to publicize this because it would look like they were trying to publicize something that would make them look good after they looked so bad? I think they didn't want any attention on this because it was just going to make them look worse. When you have all the things that went on with Kyle Beach and Black Ace #1, and now I hear there's another Black Ace that's going to sue the team or suing the team, and then there's that I think that high school player who's going to sue the team. You got a lot going on with that still. That's not over. That's not going to be over for a long time.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Pat your back? Oh, I did the right thing this time, but the other 50 times I didn't.
Yeah,
but this time I did good, right? Yay me! Yeah, absolutely not.
Now think about this. Look at the bigger picture. When you think about what happened to Kyle Beach, when you think about what happened to Black Ace #1, who we don't know who that is, when you think about Patrick Kane being accused of rape in 2015, when you think of a couple years later, there was a Rockford Ice Hog, and I forgot his name, but he basically, I guess he had some naked pictures of a woman that he had slept with, and he sent those out or posted them somewhere or something like that. And the Hawks got rid of him, obviously because of that, but they got rid of him. Can't remember if they traded him or cut him or bought out his contract or whatever, because I don't remember. This was a couple years ago. But you start seeing all these things happening, right? Like between Patrick Kane, this other Ice Hog, what happened to Kyle Beach, what happened to this Ice Girl. And then on top of that, even Brad Aldrich, the video coach who went after Kyle Beach, also went after an intern for the Blackhawks. So, this
it's
feels
what plays
more
into what everybody calls toxic hockey culture. And that's become a common phrase, and you hear it a lot, is this toxic hockey culture. that everybody talks about. And it all plays into that. And it's just this, here's instance, and here's another instance, and here's another instance. And that's what everybody can label it, because it's an inherent problem that's being exposed in the Blackhawks. But how many other teams has this happened to?
Probably most or all of them. I mean, it is toxic.
And then again,
it's bad.
I go to this. Okay. Has this ever happened to a baseball team? Does it? How about a football team? How about a soccer team? How about a basketball team? I mean, is this just an inherent thing in sports in general? Or is this isolated to hockey? Because
No,
there's
of course
this
not.
hockey culture that's toxic. And I think the answer is, yeah, it's probably everywhere. It's just getting exposed here first. That's the appearance that I feel it has. But this is like the kick them when they're down kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Dirty Laundry song by Don Henley.
Oh yeah.
You know, kick them when they're up, kick them when they're down.
Kick them when they're up, kick them all around.
Because I mean, that's what the media is for, right? The media is gonna they're gonna find everything there is to know about every little thing, and they're gonna air all of your dirty laundry for the whole world to see. That's their job. And the people that are on that side are gonna say, no, my job is to report the truth. Okay, well, if that's what your job is, then you go investigating and you find the stuff and you come out with it. There's probably going to be a landslide, and that's exactly what we've seen here. You know, the one report comes out, oh, how many more? And there's the next one, 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 and so on and so forth. I don't know how you fix this, or do you fix it? How
you
can
have
you
to fix it?
But how do you fix it? I mean, I'm not qualified to answer that, I guess, and maybe this is a rhetorical question, but it's like, how do you fix it? It really has to start, in this case, has to start from the top down. And when you have an owner that's out there that doesn't want to talk about it and thinks that it's none of anybody's business, like this is some family secret that no one else should know outside of the family, isn't that the problem? Because it was kept a secret and because it was buried.
Yeah.
Let's hope nobody ever finds out.
Yeah.
And let's get rid of these people so they're no longer here, and let's never talk about this again. Well, that may work within your own household, but once the neighbors find out, or once the deacon's wife at church finds out and she gabs to everybody else, or once they find out at school, or once they find out at work, or once they find out down at the barbershop, you know, it becomes everybody's secret because it's no longer a secret and you're exposed. And have you ever watched that show Succession?
Oh yeah, you know, I just finished it about a week ago. I binged all three seasons in January.
This is like real life Succession, like playing out and before our eyes with the Blackhawks, it seems like.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because in Succession they had that scandal that became the subject of much of the show. Yeah.
Yeah, you have that, and you also have an aging patriarch of the business and coming up with a succession plan for who's going to take over the company.
Right.
And then he turns around and looks at them all like, you're all a bunch of idiots. I'm not going anywhere, you know?
Right.
And it's like, it seems like that's exactly what we have here.
I'm going to drag the company down because it's my company. Yeah.
Yep. It's my company, and if I want to burn it to the ground, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
It's hard to be a Blackhawk fan again, you know, it is. I can even watch the team when they lose because I just like watching hockey and I like having local guys to root for, but it becomes so much harder when, like, you look at the higher ups and you just go, what the heck?
Well, and that's the thing. We've talked about this so many times, and you even brought it up today. You know, how many years were the Hawks not on TV? And, you know, I've brought up that, you know, I moved to this area in 1993, and there were no hockey fans anywhere to be found. Anywhere. And I'm like, is there even a team here anymore? I mean, yeah, I obviously knew there was a team, but I didn't know anybody that paid any attention until they started winning. And then once they started winning, all of a sudden, all these people crawl out of the woodwork. Well, guess what? They haven't won in a few years. In fact, the last couple years, they haven't been so good. And guess what? All those Hawks fans went poof into the ether. And it's like, what in the world? I mean, even some people I know really well that have been diehard Hawks fans, probably the last 2-3 years, I haven't heard them utter a sentence about the team. So even if you lost your fan base to then just make matters worse and not even try to do any damage control, good Lord.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of years back, I remember the team missed the playoffs and they raised the ticket price by 12%. And they're like, well, because of raising salaries and stuff. It's just like, yeah, but you missed the playoffs. It wasn't a winning season, and you're raising ticket prices. Come on. And now it's funny because I watch the games, and during the games, they'll do like an in-game advertisement, like where Eddie Olczyk or Pat Foley, when they're allowed to do the game, because they've been bringing in all these different announcers, which is another annoying thing for another time. But they'll say, hey, if you get 2 Blackhawk tickets, you also get $50 of free food at the game. And I'm like, wow, so $50, that's what, 4 beers?
4? I would think 1.5.
Right. I mean, I know Rangers games, beers are like $14. So I'm assuming the Blackhawks and Chicago being a little cheaper, I think maybe they'd be about $12 a beer, $10 a beer. But like, $50 in overpriced food for me to come to a game. But, because I remember when like I'd get free Blackhawk tickets because they couldn't fill the place. But then it was just like the cost of parking, the cost of food. And then is there something else I'd rather do that night than watch a losing team in person? I couldn't watch them I couldn't watch them on TV at the time. But like what I'm saying is like sometimes like, I mean, I had somebody offer me tickets and I turned them down. I actually had other things going on that day, but I just wasn't that enthused. Like, I mean, I had something going on that day, so it was an easy choice to make. But if I was free, it still would have been like, yeah, I don't know, because I have to go there, I have to park, I have to pay. It's I don't say it's work, but I don't know. It
becomes a hassle at a certain point.
Sometimes it does. Now, I do love going to hockey games, and when I have tickets ahead of time, it becomes something that I look forward to. Then it's something that I look forward to all week, and I can't wait, and I'm excited. But when it's kind of like sometimes like when it's a last minute thing, it's just like, I can't. I'm sorry, but
wasn't that one of the questions that was even asked at that session? Was something about Hawks tickets being sold for like $5?
So the problem,
$50 tickets.
The issue that was brought up by Phil Thompson of the Tribune was that the Blackhawk tickets don't have good resale value anymore. So season ticket holders, they buy the 41 home games and then 3 preseason games. And so you have to buy all these tickets. And what a lot of the season ticket holders do is they figure out what the very best games are, and then they sell those tickets right away because they say, these tickets cost me a lot of money. I want to go to a lot of the games, but I can't really afford all of the games. So they figure out, of course, a Tuesday night game against, I don't know, the Winnipeg Jets, maybe that's going to be hard to resell. But, maybe a Saturday matinee against the Red Wings would be a hot ticket to sell, right? Because of that rivalry. Or maybe a game against the Penguins, right? Because of Crosby, right? So there's games that they'll sell the tickets to, they'll resell the tickets.
Right. There's no better time to get the most for your ticket than when they announce who the competition is going to be.
Right.
And everybody's like, holy cow, I want to go to that game.
Right, exactly. I want to see this Nathan McKinnon. He sounds pretty good. So that's what they'll do. I was making fun of my friend, one of my friends who had season tickets, because I'm like, all you guys do is just throw your tickets on StubHub. He's like, that's the only way I can afford to go to the games. He says, other than buying a game here, a game there. He's like, if I want to have season tickets, I still can't afford to go to all of the games. So I try to sell some of the tickets and make some of that money back. And, you know, if I can get 2 or 3 times face value of what I pay, then that helps me offset the cost of the other tickets and kind of helps me justify it in a way. I go, okay, yeah, you know, are we any different as card collectors? If we spend $100 on a hobby box and we get a hit that's $50 that we know we can sell for $50, then we go, okay, now my hobby box only cost me $50. I know I'm using simple math here. And I know it's not a $10,000 Mike.
Yeah, but whether you're gonna sell them or keep them, you have that in your head.
Right.
And everybody opens a box and looks, well, I got these 3 hits here, and I'm probably going to keep them, but I wonder what they're selling for. And you look them up, and you're like, oh, this one's going for 20. This one's going for 60. This one's going for 30. Oh, well, right there, I've, you know, made half my box back.
Right. Right, exactly.
Selling tickets from a ticket package that you purchased that already cost you a bajillion dollars. Because, I mean, I haven't bought tickets like that in many, many years.
Why don't we switch over to a happy topic to end the show? What do you say?
Happy topic?
Yeah, what do you want to talk about?
Oh, I'm a miserable person, so there's not much happiness.
Why don't we talk about a card topic? Why don't we talk about your little Twitter question from earlier when you asked about the difference between hobby boxes and retail boxes and why somebody would want to pay more money for the hobby boxes, especially when it comes to hockey. I have thoughts on this. So I actually saw you put that on Twitter and I was going to answer it. And I'm like, maybe we'll just talk about it on the show.
Well, essentially, I threw out there because I keep seeing all of this, and maybe it's not geared towards hockey, but I wanted to gear it as more of a hockey impression. But I get the focus that other sports have on retail products. And so my point was, explain to me how and why retail hockey boxes or packs or blasters or fat packs or whatever you want to call them are better than hobby boxes. And I'm actually looking for like empirical evidence that shows me that they're better.
Well,
because here's my experience. And this has been years of experience. Now, obviously, the last couple years where product has been dumped onto the market by the truckload, I haven't really got much into the retail thing. But in all the years of having the choice of buying retail versus hobby, I've bought both. And the reason is convenience. That's not empirical, that's a physical reason. Because if I go to the store and I see hockey cards on the shelf, I'm like, oh, hockey cards, let me go look at those. Mm-hmm. And if something I'm interested in, I might buy it. Versus making an event of going to a card show where I can get hobby, or go to a local card shop where I can get hobby. There's a little more thought involved with that. Mm-hmm. So I get that part of it, and I understand that part of it. But I'm looking for actual empirical evidence, like I buy retail because I get more of blah, whatever that may be. I get more of this card, or I get more of these type of inserts, or I have a better chance at getting these autographs, or I have a better chance at doing this and that and the other. And I've gotten a ton of responses from people. And I had to clarify because I don't want people to get the impression that I don't think I know what I'm talking about, and I've never bought retail, or I've never bought hobby, or I'm looking for somebody's advice like, which should I buy, hobby or retail? No, that's not what I'm looking for. I just want to know what people's opinion are of this. And overwhelmingly, people are in support of hobby. But it's not always accessible to them. So again, it's more of a physical thing. Is it there or is it not there? If it's not there, then my only choice might be retail. But if it is there, it seems like more people lean towards hobby than they would towards retail. But I want to know why people would go the other way. So if you've got something, I'm all ears.
First, before I can answer your question, you have to establish the criteria of what better means. Are we talking about better price? Are we talking about better hits? What criteria makes it better?
All of that would make it better because
but
price is what you get in hits is going to be offset by the price you paid to get the hits. And in the end, you're going to look at the grand scheme of things. I don't want to turn this into the investment talk, but let's turn it into the hypothetical one where you're trying to get a return on the money that you're putting into a product. So if you're going to spend $20 on a blaster, or you turn around and you go to a hobby box that cost you $120, what's the benefit of spending the $20 rather than spending the extra money and getting more cards, more shots at autographs, more shots at hits, more shots at additional cards that you may not find in the retail?
See, there's no easy answer to this because it really is what your goal is. So I'm going to go back to a couple months back when we were talking about Skybox. Finally got it right. Skybox Metal Universe. And I bought a ton.
I know you went all in on a ton of the retail.
On retail, because how much were hobby boxes?
They were $350 at release. And
I did the math, and to get the number of cards would have been either $120 worth of blaster boxes or $350 in a hobby box. Now, I wanted to build the set, the base set, short prints. That's what I wanted, and I wanted the retro inserts. Those were my main focuses.
Let's back up here. We have one hobby box on one hand versus how many retail on the other?
Let's say 30, 60, 90, 120, 4.
So 4 retail versus 1 hobby.
Something like that.
So
yeah,
that's your break-even point on equivalency. So either 1 hobby box is equal to 4 blaster boxes.
Yeah, they had about the same amount of cards. I mean,
so same amount of money, same amount of cards. Okay.
Different amount of money.
Different amount of money.
Right. I was focused on, like, if I spend $350 or $300 on a hobby box, I'm going to get X amount of cards. I forget what it was because I think each pack had like 5 cards. I think each blaster box had 30 cards. If I hate being put on the spot. See, this is why I make my notes ahead of time, Timmy. So that I'm not
I'd rather talk like we're just sitting here talking.
Huh?
So I'd rather talk like we're just sitting here talking.
Right. Okay. So basically, this is what I did.
I'll tell you what the breakdown is.
Okay.
So a Skybox had 7 cards per pack.
Yep.
15 packs box.
Okay, so 7 times, you said 15?
Yes, there are 15 packs in a hobby box.
So that's 105 cards.
Okay, so 105 cards.
Now, what about a blaster?
A blaster had, let's see.
See, this is where people are switching channels because
nobody's switching any channels.
Radio silence while you
there's
look up.
There's no radio silence. We're getting to the point here.
Okay.
I just got to pull it up. Just give me a second.
Pull a little faster.
All right. So those have 5 packs.
5 packs, and each pack had what? 7. Okay. Yeah. So I was in off. So 35. So 35. So 35, 70, 105. Right. So 36, yeah. So 3 blasters cost me $90 and had 105 cards. 1 hobby box cost, what'd you say, 300 at launch?
They were about 350.
Okay, so 350 and had 105 cards. Now, I understand that the hobby box probably had an autograph in every box. Does that sound about right to you?
That is correct. 1 autograph guaranteed in a box.
Now, the blaster boxes had much longer odds of getting autographs, but I actually got an autograph. So I got Jake Evans. So
out of all the boxes or just out of 1 box?
I bought 14 blaster boxes.
And got 1 autograph.
I got 1 autograph out of 14 blasters.
Holy cow.
No, but I'm not in it for the autographs.
I understand. Keep going.
I wanted to build the set. So now let me ask you something. If you want to build a 200-card set, you need to have at least 200 cards. Now, granted, 105 cards about a third of those were inserts or parallels. So you'd have to buy a lot of boxes anyways. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, if I spent $300, $600, or $700, I'd get 210 cards from the hobby boxes, and I'd get 2 autographs. But if I bought blasters and didn't worry about autographs, I just want to build the set. That's my criteria. That's what makes them better for me. See, I would rather spend $90, get 105 cards, than spend $350, get 105 cards. Granted, the odds of getting an autograph are guaranteed in a hobby box, but is it worth paying an extra $210, $260 just to guarantee an autograph? No. Do I really care if I get a numbered 1 out of 5 red parallel or precious metal red or whatever version of the card? No, I don't care. That's kind of like a nice to have, but not like a need to have. Like, I'm not like, oh, I hope I get the Connor McDavid that's numbered 1 out of 1, because that's not something you can really bank on. If that happens, that's your lucky day. It's not like...
No, and I got that. That's a crapshoot.
Right.
So take out your inserts and autographs and all of that, and in a hobby box, you're left with 94 base cards.
Okay.
How many inserts are in a blaster box?
I tend to think out of 35, I wrote all of this down, but I never did official box breaks because I just bought so many of them and they were blasters, and most people don't care about blaster breaks anyway. I want to say out of 35 cards, about 19 per box were base cards. And then I want to say there was maybe 1 short print in every pack. So I want to say I got about 19 base cards and about 5 short prints. And then, so that's 24. So then out of 24, then the next 11 were some sort of parallel or insert. I got a lot of the blue ones. I think the blue ones were like 1 per box because I got a lot of blue ones. Actually, they might have been more than 1 per box. They might have been 1 per pack. They were pretty frequent. The purple ones, which were numbered, and those were retail blaster box exclusives, those were numbered out of 199. I think I got 1 per box. And then I want to say like the retro inserts, I got less than 1 per box. I mean, I also got some of the clear inserts. I got some of the net crashers. So, I mean, I kind of got a good spread over, well, 14 blasters is a lot of blasters. And no, I didn't even complete a base set, go figure. But I got really darn close to it. I was happier doing that than, spending $300 on...
Well, it'd be $350 on the 7
or 15 packs.
15 packs,
yeah.
7 cards per pack.
Right.
If you back that up and you're talking, you went 14, I mean, at $30 a pop, that's $420.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you're getting, what'd you end up with? 260, 250 base cards out of that?
Yeah, I mean, I made enough to like almost make a base set and almost make a second base set and get pretty darn close to getting most of the short prints. I mean, I still had to do a lot of trading, but it gave me enough raw material that I had stuff to trade. You know what I mean? Where somebody'd say, oh, I got these rookies. And I'd say, oh, do you want these Intimidation Nation? Yeah, okay, here you go. You know what I mean? And we'd like trade.
So
there
were
were
an
a lot
extra $70 over the initial retail price on these, you were able to get about 100, let's say roughly 100 additional base cards.
Okay.
Than you would have out of a hobby box. I'm sure you got a lot more inserts because a hobby box is only going to net you 6. I'm sure you got more than 6.
Yo, yeah, tons.
Yeah.
I got
way
tons
more
of
than
inserts.
6.
I mean, between the blue parallels, the purple parallels, which are like 1 per box, but those were exclusive to the retail boxes. And then, quite a few.
So I think we picked one example that was a bad example that flipped my theory.
Well, no, but that's the thing, though. Is
Only
that,
because the price of this box was so high and remains so high. That's the thing. I still don't understand why it's so high.
Well, now let's take a look at the set that everybody likes, Upper Deck Series 1, Upper Deck Series 2. I started
Sure, go with
buying
that.
I started buying retail boxes exclusively in 2015-16 because Connor McDavid, because you couldn't get hobby boxes because there was so much hype and anticipation about his young gun in Series 1 that they were sold out. They were sold out, and a lot of the hobby shops were actually selling retail boxes. Some would sell both, but then I'd look and I'd say, okay, let me see. This retail box, there's what, 24 packs? So I think I was spending about $250 a pack. I want to say I was spending like maybe, I remember buying 4 retail boxes at a show and spending $60 per retail box. And then they also had the hobby boxes for almost double. They were like 110 or 120. I said to the guy, I said, well, what's the difference? He said, oh, those are hobby, those are retail. I'm like, well, what's the difference? And I knew the difference because I'm not an amateur. I know the difference. And he says, oh, well, the hobby boxes have better hits, but they both have the same amount of young guns. To me, that's all I care about. I don't care about the jersey cards. You know, I have a hate and sometimes love relationship with jersey cards. So the fact that the hobby box had 2 or 3 jersey cards and the retail box didn't have any jersey cards, I can't justify spending $50 more on a box of cards that's going to have insert cards that I hate, i.e. jersey cards. Now, once in a while you would get an autograph in Upper Deck Series 1, Upper Deck Series 2. I can't remember that ever happening to me. I remember getting autographs in O-Pee-Chee, even retail boxes of O-Pee-Chee. And that was the other thing I was going to say is like Upper Deck, I feel like if you care about the young guns and you care about the base set, you go with the retail. If you really care about better odds of getting the other inserts, like, oh, I really want more than one Dazzler per blaster box, or maybe you'd get 2 Dazzlers per retail box, although you don't really get retail boxes, you buy blasters. Actually, even blasters have become a bit of a drag because Upper Deck Series 1 and Series 2 blasters used to have 8 packs per box, and you were guaranteed 2 young guns because you'd get a young gun every 4 packs. But now they do 7 packs in a box, so you're only really guaranteed 1 young gun because, you might not get that second young gun within that, you're going to get 1, but you're not going to get 2. Fat packs are the absolute worst. I will never buy fat packs again because those are just terrible. Like, if you want a lot of base cards for cheap, great. But you know what? You're not going to get any short prints or very few short prints in them. So you're going to get an even more disproportionate amount of base to short prints in a fat pack.
So what's your take on the well spread rumor that the preconceived high ticket young guns are not distributed in retail the same rate they are in hobby?
That might explain why I never got a Connor McDavid young gun, and I bought so much Series 1 that year. I bought retail boxes. I bought tins from Target, like lots of tins. I bought so much 2015-16 Series 1, did not get a single Connor McDavid.
And I can tell you I bought 6 hobby boxes, and I also did not.
Okay, so there you go. I just think it's luck of the draw. I mean, what was the big rookie in 06-07? Evgeny Malkin. I got 3 of them. So there you go.
And I never bought any 06-07 hobby or retail for that matter.
Those are all retail boxes, and I got 3. I bought a case that year of would that have been Series 2? I think it was Series 1. I bought a case of Series 1, and I think I bought a case of Series 2. I can't remember. But I remember getting 3 Malkins in my case and being like, wow, hey, this is good, good card to get, a double and a triple of, right?
See, the thing is what you were saying about 15-16. See, I found the opposite because the hobby store near me, they had all that product. There isn't a big hockey contingent.
But what were their prices versus did they also have retail, and were those a lot cheaper?
No, my hobby shops didn't start selling retail until you couldn't get anything. So probably in late 19, early 2020, when all the distributors cut off the hobby shops, That's when my hobby shop started selling retail because they couldn't get any other product.
Okay.
I have both ends of the spectrum. I have the mom and pop that's been in business for 40 years
Yep.
store, and I have the juggernaut retail giant store. So I have both sides. The one is diamond certified by every company and probably can get direct from manufacturer.
Right.
The other one has to order through a distributor, and the distributors have already allotted all of their product to breakers
Right.
because the breakers order more in higher volume and reorder quicker.
Mm-hmm.
So the shelves get emptied out pretty much instantaneously in the card shop because they don't get the amount of product that they have. And I understand why they do. And this is part of that argument is distributors don't send to hobby or don't send hobby the way they used to, which is forcing the local card shops to either go and do it themselves or pay people to do it. And that's go wipe out the retail shelves so that they can bring in the retail product and they can upcharge it so that they can make their money back off of what they lost on the hobby. It's this catch-22 thing that happens because you're trying to make a buck or two off of your product and you want to sell to your customers. But if you don't have product to sell because your distributors won't give it to you, you got to find it elsewhere because your customers still keep coming because they can't find it at retail. So if you have a source and you can source it from retail somehow in order to put product on the shelves and to keep satisfying your customers' needs, what are you going to do? I get it from that point. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I get it. And I understand why it is that they're doing that kind of thing. But back then in 15, 16, I don't remember retail. Retail definitely wasn't what it has become. And back then, I don't necessarily think that you had any better odds, if not even equal odds, of doing what we just described with the Skybox Metal, because I don't think there was a product out there that you could do that. Most of the higher end stuff and mid-range stuff, there wasn't a retail version that I could remember.
Well, Peachy Platinum and Allure.
Those didn't exist in 15.
No, but I mean this past year.
This past year, sure, because Upper Deck's making an alternative to try to push the product. No one in their right mind would believe that any of this is on any type of short production. It's everywhere. And even though you may not be able to find it at your Walmart or your Target or your Meijer or your whatever retail store that you normally go to buy the stuff, there's a ton of it out there.
So I need to say something because this reminds me, this is history repeating itself. In the 80s, when sports card collecting, specifically baseball card collecting, really heated up, you had the National in 1980, you had baseball come out in 1984. So you had all these things that were happening that were making the interest in baseball cards skyrocket. Baseball card shops could not get baseball cards from Topps. So what it was that a lot of coin stores became card stores because coin collecting was hot in the 70s. And when that started to cool off, these coin dealers said, well, what else is popular? Oh, baseball cards are popular. I'm going to start, buying baseball cards, carrying baseball cards. And that's why you have a lot of the same terminology with mint and near mint, et cetera. A lot of the same terms from one became part of our vernacular in card collecting. Same with a lot of the supplies, like a lot of the pages that were made for coins became pages that were made for trading cards, right? It's the same company, same idea, right? You put them in pocket pages or whatever. So what would happen is in the 80s, card shops could not get the time of day from Topps. They would not deal with them. Topps would not sell to them because Topps was a candy company. So they liked to distribute through their candy wholesalers. And that's why you had the convenience stores and the drug stores and the grocery stores have Topps baseball cards, Topps football cards. I mean, I remember buying my first pack of football cards at Walgreens in 1985 and then buying them the next year at Jewel. Every time I go to Jewel, I buy a couple packs of Topps football cards. The card stores would then go to the Walgreens or the supermarkets, and they would buy up all the cards. And that was becoming a problem. So then Topps had to do something about it. So then they decided, okay, we're going to start dealing with these card shops, even though we don't want to, because they're buying up all the cards from Walgreens and then taking them back to their shop and then selling them for $1 instead of 50 cents or whatever, right? And this is written about in the book Card Sharks, which I recommend everybody go out and read. In fact, I'm about due to reread that book because every time I reread it, I remember stuff that I forgot. It's such a fascinating book about the history of sports card collecting. But so that's what we're happening now, is that we have card shops going to the retail places like Target or Walmart, buying up all the cards, or as many as they're allowed to buy, and then selling them in their store because they can't get the product, just like in the 80s. In fact, I will tell you this. One reason why Upper Deck was so popular in 89 when they launched their baseball product was because they were willing to deal with the card shops. The guys who founded Upper Deck, they were baseball card collectors. They were baseball card enthusiasts. In fact, one of them had a store named Upper Deck, which is what the name of the card company that they established became. They were willing to deal with the one-off card shops, which made them popular with them. Like, oh, cool, you'll deal with us. Yeah, we want to buy your product. You know, we're excited about your new baseball cards. So, yeah, history repeating itself, right?
Let's hope it doesn't completely repeat itself. I mean, it's already gotten to the point where I think this whole idea of that stuff is scarce and it needs to have these high ticket items because nobody can find it anywhere. It's a fake narrative. It really is. Because it's out there. You just aren't seeing it because it's already being snatched up. And you can see that all the time with all the people that always post, hey, did I do good? And they've got 7,000 cases of whatever it is that they bought. You put that in perspective, you're like, man, you're lucky. I can't find anything at my store. Well, yeah, because these people have it all. And the fact that they're bragging about the fact that they have it all, okay, that's fine. If you want to make that play and be that person that brags about it, go right ahead. Mm-hmm. But all I see when I see that is, here's these 100 people over here talking about how scarce this product must be because they can't find it on their shelves. Well, it's because this guy has the entire allotment. So he can create the market in his area because he's got all of it. And look what he has. He's got 7,000 boxes. Well, that's not scarce. There's nothing scarce about that. What's scarce is the fact that it's not distributed amongst these 100 people over here that want it. So he can determine price. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take this $19 product and I'm going to make it $70. So if you want it, it's $70.
So here's what's going to happen. Just like the Blackhawk fans have all went away, or many of them have gone away, same thing is going to happen with card collecting. As restrictions from the pandemic lessen and lower, and people, continue to go out and do more things outside of the home, people who got into card collecting are probably going to get out of card collecting. I do think that the hobby is going to retain a lot of the card collectors that became minted during the pandemic or who came back to the hobby during the pandemic. I feel like our base of collectors has grown a lot. It's going to shrink a bit, but it's still going to be bigger than it was pre-pandemic. But then what's going to happen is you're going to have less people collecting. So you're going to have less people buying stuff. You're going to have less speculating, which means that the prices are going to go down and there's going to be less incentive to go and be a card flipper and clean out Target of all of its football product or whatever. And then I think that eventually the supply will meet the demand and things will normalize. Just right now, we're in a little bit of a rough patch, we'll just say. But I do think that things will normalize as life gets better, as the pandemic, I don't want to say goes away, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, and there's always ebbs and flows in the hobby because it is a hobby. And it's really about, this isn't your job. This is what you do in your spare time. And if you have extra, extraneous income that you can devote to that hobby, then you do. And the people that have turned this into a full-time job, if you can make that a full-time job and keep going with it, once this all goes away, as they call it, riding the dip, if you can ride that out, sure, by all means.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, I always try to relate this back to hockey because that's mostly what we do. And
Right.
even though it's becoming harder and harder to find hockey product out there, it's still not on the levels of everything else. And I think most hockey collectors that are in it for the long haul and aren't just buying the product because they see it on the shelf and then asking everybody on social media, hey, I just found this. What's good in here? If you don't know what's good in there before you buy it, you probably shouldn't buy it.
That's true.
I'm not like a wise person, but that seems like sage advice, I think. If you're going to take to the social media and like, I just bought this box of Upper Deck. What am I looking for in here? And then you wait for the comments and it's 5 other people that don't know what they're talking about, but heard the words Young Gun before. And they're like, yeah, I think it's the Young Guns you're looking for. Okay, which ones? Do you know which ones? Do you know why this guy's good? Do you even know what team he plays for? Do you know why he's a high touted prospect? Do you know what he did in college? Do you know where he came from?
Can you pronounce his name?
Yeah, exactly. So we've been bouncing around from all these different tangents here. And this whole thing started with trying to figure out what the real benefit of retail versus hobby is. And obviously I got baited into using the wrong example by Sal here. So, but in general, I still don't, I don't know. I still don't see it. I understand the desire to buy it because it's readily accessible when you go to buy milk or a pack of underwear and some deodorant and some soap. And you pick up some cards and some batteries.
Wait, hold on there. Deodorant and soap, we're talking about card collectors here.
That was a subliminal hint.
Yeah, right, I guess.
Yeah, that was a subliminal hint. So yeah, I mean, that's really what it boils down to. And, other than Skybox Metal, I don't know that.
No, and you know what? When the
quantify it.
prices were nominally different, I'd always go hobby. I remember looking at O-Pee-Chee a couple years ago, and I was looking at the blaster boxes, and I was doing the math, and I said, oh, well, I could build a set with these because the short prints are the same ratio, and the base cards are, you get the same amount of base, same amount of short prints. But then I looked at some of the other things, and I said, oh, well, I kind of like those inserts, and I'm reading the odds. I'm like, oh, I like those inserts too. Now we're talking not about the short prints, but just other inserts. Oh, okay, and the autographs, one in every 500 packs, and then I'd whip out my phone and I'd look up what the odds are for hobby boxes, and I'd say, oh, an autograph and average of every other box, and I go, okay, well that's better. And then I would usually end up going, yeah, I'm going to pay a little more and I'm going to get the hobby boxes, but then I'm going to get some inserts that I'm going to really enjoy. But really, honestly, I mean, other than the last year's portraits inserts in Upper Deck, I didn't really care about any of the other inserts. I don't care about canvases. I don't care if you get 2 canvases or 4 canvases or a canvas in every pack. I just don't care. I set it aside. Dazzlers were nice, but I set those aside. Shining Stars, I didn't really care about. So a lot of the inserts, I don't care if I get less of them. But if it's a set that I really care about the inserts, I'll pay more. But then when the prices become very disproportionate, kind of again with Skybox Metal, but then even also with Allure, because Allure hobby boxes were really expensive. If I was going to build that set, I might just buy the set. But you know what I mean? I'd have to think about it. There's no blanket answer for this. So even though I don't say I cherry picked the one example, I mean, it was something that meant a lot to me. This was the set that I really wanted to build besides Upper Deck Series 1, Series 2, and Extended. So you almost have to take it case by case basis.
And you kind of do now, especially with the focus that's become on retail and the way blaster boxes are selling on the secondary market, I think is catering to manufacturers' desire to capitalize on that and say, okay, well, we never intended Skybox Metal to be in a blaster, but look how well they sell. Let's put it in a blaster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
We talked about 15, 16. We didn't have all that back then. All the other sets that came out that year, like SPX and SPEA and Platinum and all of those didn't have blaster boxes necessarily. It was just regular Upper Deck, and occasionally you'd find an Artifacts box that shunned because nobody wanted it because none of the hits were in there.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what it was. So I don't know. Anyway, it was an interesting conversation, and it's still going on because there's people still making comments and posting to it. So I think an overwhelming majority floods towards hobby, but I mean, I guess I can get the retail argument, especially when you use my own argument against me. So.
Well, folks, if you listen to this episode, please let us know what you think in the whole hobby versus retail debate, especially after hearing what Tim and I had to say about this. You can find me on Twitter at PuckJunk. You can find Tim on Twitter at TheRealDFG. And I guess we're done with this show. Sound good? Ready to put a bow on this one?
I'm ready to put a bow on it.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to the Puck Junk Hockey Podcast. As always, if you've enjoyed this show, please be sure to like and subscribe. Please write us a review on Apple iTunes. And until next time, collect what you like. Oh, and buy a shirt on pre-sale at shop.puckjunk.com.
For more hockey goodness, follow us on Twitter at PuckJunk.